Again. I am going live with Renee Urbanovich, and we're going to be talking about creativity and celebration. I'm feeling very festive with my tree behind us, behind me, and I'm going to be trying to get Renee on here. I see her. She's in the room.
There.
There you are.
Yes, look how festive.
So festive.
Creativity and festivity. How's that?
Yes, yes.
I like a good rhyme every now and again.
How are you doing?
Good. We have to get a tree. We never do. And now that, Achilles, my grandson, is here, and we have to go get one. So I went and got some ornaments, 50% off at Hobby Lobby, because I don't even have any ornaments. So
Nice.
we're gonna try and make a pretty tree, but I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Did you guys make a big deal out of it? Do you go to like a Christmas tree lot?
Well, we're lucky because where we live, there's so many farms around, and so we just drove right down the street, and it was this place called Olmsted Farms that's local. Um,
Um,
yeah, totally. And I talked my mom into getting a really tall one because we have a very high ceiling. So
nice. Wow, that's a
yeah,
big one.
it's a big one, yeah, and it doesn't have any ornaments yet, just lights. So.
I like just the lights.
Yeah, I kind of like it, but it will eventually have ornaments on it. I've just been chipping away at it bit by bit ever since the Thanksgiving weekend started. So,
How was your Thanksgiving?
oh, it was so good, so lazy and relaxed, and lots of good food and lots of family. How about yours?
Good. Um, it was very intimate. We have a huge family, and I've hosted before where we've had 43 people, and it's just family.
Right.
We had 10 people, and it was just peaceful and lovely and warm. No
Yeah.
cold weather, but we still lit a fire for fun.
Nice.
It was good. It was good for my mom and dad to get out of the house and spend time with everybody. It was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to actually talk about what just happened because I was just like thinking like boundaries like were such a big thing. So, we were supposed to go on at 5:15 and it's 5:14 and I see you text like, are you ready? Or like, the
Yeah.
time or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I've literally typed the word yes because I was just like, I'll just hold it. So I had, nature was calling. And then I deleted the word yes. And I'm like, Renee wants me to go when I need to go. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
hold on. I need 5 minutes because it just was bad timing. You know how that is.
Well, there's
Um,
a metaphor there too.
tell me.
I don't know. I got to think about it. But
Okay.
again,
Definitely for sure.
yeah, holding stuff inside um, is not a good boundary. Let's say that. It's not a good boundary
Exactly.
for you. Yeah.
Totally. Totally. And, in Ayurveda, they teach never to hold your pee or your poo or your sneeze, never repress your sneeze, never repress your burp or your fart or any of those things because we have these natural impulses for a reason. And when we repress them, we're actually sending that nervous energy back into the body. That like electrical signal is getting sent back in. Like it doesn't ever get to express.
Well,
So
we're
anyway,
not
there's
gonna.
that too.
Don't tell Jim any of this. I don't want him to know any of this. This is not okay for him to
I love
know.
it.
He is
Yeah.
to hold in his farts regardless of Ayurveda.
Yeah,
Or
I've
he
been
will.
working on that with my son too. It's like just walk to the bathroom or like go around the corner, or whatever you need to
Yeah.
do, but just
Yeah.
like don't let it rip right in the middle of the room in front of everyone. Just because of social contracts, we gotta adhere to the social contract. But I was just thinking, there was a time in my life when I would have been so anxious in that moment to ask you if I could go to the
Good for you.
bathroom. Like I would have been having like a panic attack about it, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go. And it felt a little bit bold. And then it was just like, wow, that's really funny. But also boundaries, guys, like they're hard.
Well, but it
You gotta
shows how much.
celebrate, you know?
Well, let's have a celebration. It shows how much you've grown that that's not going to bother you, and it's not going to bother you
Yeah.
to ask me, and it's not going to bother you to publicly speak it. Like that's fascinating, right?
It's funny because like I don't think I ever would have cared about talking about it publicly
Mm-hmm.
because I think I have the space to look
Mm-hmm.
back and laugh at it.
Yeah,
But in
yeah,
the moment, it's like I'm failing this person. I'm supposed to be, it's like this deep
right.
thing. Like
Yeah,
I'm supposed to be on at 5:15, and like
yeah,
shouldn't I have gone 5 minutes ago? But like sometimes the
yeah.
body just doesn't work that way, right?
Well,
So
and the world still
yeah,
turned. The world still turned. We're
exactly.
still on. We
Yeah,
can
still
talk
love
about
me.
celebrations.
Totally,
Yep, your
totally.
Christmas tree still looks good.
Yeah. Yeah. We're okay. We made it. And
Well,
I can be more present with you now because I'm not thinking like, okay, when am I going to be able to go?
not
But
when you're home. There's none of that. Not when you're
yeah,
home, and not
yeah,
once you reach a certain age either. So
totally.
there's none of that. Um, I just love this subject because I don't. I'm sure I've told you. I know we have. Last year we talked about this. That we, over the 40 years that we've been together, have celebrated Christmas enough times that we can keep count. It has not even been half of that.
Hmm.
He's not a big Christmas person, and we just grew into not doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we do Thanksgiving, and then this year I never do Halloween either. I don't have any kids anymore, but this year they did the pumpkin thing, and
Mhm.
then there's always Easter, and just all of these festivities and all of these rituals. They're part ritual.
Mhm.
They're,
Totally.
they're they're pretty much all we have in our culture. Um, Externally bother me.
Hmm.
When I was in college and I was learning about, whatever, social inequity, and I had to take sociology classes where there's no solution, and I was just burdened by poverty and burdened by living where I live, which is a very, I'm going to say high class, materialistic, mall driven. Everything
Yeah.
centers around the mall.
Right. That's the
So
town square.
yeah, I in my 20s and 30s and half of my 40s, I had a lot of judgment on every single house that had Halloween decorations, orange
Hmm.
lights, spiders, just all the blow up things. And I spent a lot of time in judgment on it.
Yeah.
And then the women that you go to their house, and I fucking can't keep a clean house to save my life. And you walk into their house, and every season it's redecorated.
Hmm.
How do they do that? And so once I
How
started
many
studying,
boxes does that take? Like
exactly how
the
organized are they?
organization that takes.
Well,
It's
and
like
the money
crazy.
that you're spending on these decorations that are fluff, that are, it's called what's it called,
Non
expendable,
non-essential. It's
non-essential
non-essential consumer
expendable
spending.
income. Like, take your
Right.
expendable income and like feed the poor. How about that? Buy a goat for somebody in
Yeah.
Zimbabwe. I don't know. Anyway, but I've moved away from that a lot
Yeah.
now, and I'm trying to find what it does to the individual and how
Mm.
much joy it brings to the individual that they would work that hard on something. And
Totally.
the conclusion that I came to after being super judgmental and harsh and really disgusted by my
Hmm.
culture that I'm in is that it is an expression of creativity, that it connects them
Totally.
to their deeper self, and it connects the external to the internal. If that's all it's about, then the joke's on me. But hopefully it's something deeper, and the process of doing that is helping them to connect with their thoughts, reflecting on Christmases past, reflecting on all the people they love. And that's a huge component of creativity. Reflection is.
Hmm.
I mean, we
Yeah.
could go down, all the components of creativity can be found in ritual, celebration, and festivity. So I'm just sharing that, like, now we got to go get a Christmas tree. Last year we got it out of the trash. Like, Lau, my daughter-in-law, got here and we're like, shit, we don't have a tree. Sorry, we don't usually do this. We got in the car, we drove around, we tried to find a tree. We found one in the trash. All the Christmas lots were shut down. It
That's
was
kind
like,
of awesome. You went dumpster diving for a Christmas tree.
well, and it was only because they were all closed. I think it was like Christmas Eve at 6 o'clock, and they were all just closed. So we got
Wow.
one, and then we thought, okay, we're gonna go to Target. We're gonna go get some ornaments. We couldn't find any,
Hmm.
so it didn't even have any. It was just I got some red and white bows, and I made ribbons. So this year I'm like, okay, I got to do it this time. I got to make sure I think about it, and I
Yeah.
bought the ornaments. But anyway, so all that to just say, my attitude is transforming, which is also a component of creativity, and I'm
Hmm.
trying to see
Yeah.
the
That's a really good point.
process and what the process brings the individual. Even though I could still sit here and judge our culture for all of it, I'm looking for the positive and the connectivity that it brings through its creative activity.
Yeah. Yeah. Snaps to that. I mean, obviously, it goes without saying that I had a very similar experience to you as a young adult, teenager, whatever. But when I was a kid, I would find any reason that I could to have a party for something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had, you know, Halloween parties, we had Cinco de Mayo parties,
Mm-hmm.
and we had Super Bowl parties. And did we watch the football game? No, we did not. You know, I was like
Yeah.
8 years
Yeah.
old. I'm like, Mom, can I have a Super Bowl party? And my mom was like, sure. And then, you know, I just invite a bunch of kids over. We'd have like football themed everything, you know, and then
I
we
love
jump
it.
on the
It's just an
trampoline,
excuse to
you know.
eat.
It was to eat, yeah, totally, to eat and gather. And, you know, food, I think there's a lot of research that food is kind of the glue of culture, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, like this wasn't like some deep cultural thing going on,
Yeah,
but it was
no.
me wanting to be around my people, you know?
Right, right.
So at the base, you know, that's what culture is in a sense, is being with your people. Um, and then, you know, I was just like you as I got older and I started to see like, oh my gosh, look at all the stuff and look at how many resources that takes and how much
Yeah.
expendable income that takes and all of those things. And got to this point where not only my life was stark, like the walls of my house, you know, like I was almost kind of stoic,
Yeah.
that kind of a philosophy. But my inner environment felt very stark. My inner
Mhm.
emotional environment felt very stark. I didn't allow
Interesting.
myself
So
those
it's
indulgences.
so what you're saying is it's kind of a reflection
Yeah, yeah, I think
on your
completely,
internal.
you know, like I think that, you know, whatever you can say about like shopping at, you know, these stores and buying these like pre-made whatever decorations,
Mhm.
but the alchemy that's happening in the human being that when they're doing it, whether, you know, whether they bought their stuff at Walmart or, you know, whether they made it by hand or whatever, when they're decorating their home, there's something happening where in a sense you're decorating your psyche as well.
Mhm.
And the more connected you are to the symbolism of what you're using when you're decorating, you know, you could argue that there's like stuff going on with like archetypal, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
psychology and whatnot. But even without all that, you know, kind of like heady psych pop, like whatever stuff, um, the process itself is nourishing to the soul, you know?
Mhm.
And then we see our environment reflected. We say like, there is joy in me, there is connection in me, there is creativity. Look what I have made. And that kind
Right.
of reminds me, I bet you could help me out with some kind of quote or something about like God saw what he made and it was good,
Yeah,
you know?
Thomas More. Thomas More in the Care of the Soul. On the seventh day, God took a step back and said and looked and said, "This is good. It is
Yeah,
good." And
yeah,
for any creative endeavor that we do, Thomas More suggests that we do that, that we take a look at what we've done and say, "This is good."
yeah. And
And that,
not in a judging way, but in a like a food kind of like when you make a good meal and you
yeah,
enjoy that meal,
yeah,
you know, not like, oh, I get 15 points because my house like wins the, you know, Charlie Brown
yeah, yeah,
Christmas decoration
right.
contest, you know. So yeah.
But you know that point, to that point, reflection is really important to an artist.
Mhm.
It's also important to business meetings. At the end, they have a postmortem and they all get together and go, what worked, what didn't work. That's how we learn. And whenever we learn, that's creativity as well. So, I mean, the creative process is just never ending. It just,
Right.
you know, I can pinpoint it in just, you know, all day, every day. So when you do reflect on whatever it is that you've done and you look at actually the product, oh, my Christmas tree turned out great, right? Or
Mhm.
boy, it looks like a 2-year-old did it, but I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Whatever, you know,
Right.
the reflection portion is you reflecting on your process and if it brought you joy. For me, as a mother of 4, running around with a chicken, like a chicken with my head cut off all the time, I didn't have time
Yeah.
to want to decorate and to
Yeah.
put it down, take it up, put it down. It made me crazy.
Right.
So it didn't bring me joy. It made me feel pressured, especially because I'm
Gotcha.
not good at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I remember distinctly, Stevie got to be a certain age. I think it was 11, maybe 12. And he's like, okay, I'm going to put up all the lights. And so he would go and maybe,
Oh,
so somebody,
big boy.
probably Jordan, drove him to get lights and he would put lights all around and the kids wanted it. So they did it. And I'm sure they got a lot of, you know, joy from it. But anyway, the other thing that I love about celebrations or festivities or holidays or ritual, whatever you want to say.
Sorry, just let me pause you for a sec. Is the sound in the background too loud? Is that what you mean? Bowie boop snoot? Is it
Is
too
it,
loud in the
it
background?
might be my voice is never as loud as yours.
Well, my house is really loud right now. I was very insistent that I do this in front of my Christmas tree because we just put it up. So maybe I'll just go upstairs just in case that's what's going on. But you can continue. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Look at those bright colors. Look at that beautiful living
I
room.
know it's pretty, huh? It's my grandma's house.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's hard to sometimes parse out the background noise on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, you can hear the noises over the conversation.
Yeah.
So
And so
anyway,
you saw the noise. I barely noticed it.
where was I? What was I going to say? I plumb forgot.
I'm sorry. I'm so
That's
sorry.
Decoration.
You were talking about the kids taking over the decorations and having the motivation just to do it themselves.
Yeah. I don't remember. All I remember is that I learned that the external things that were fucking me up bad. When I got a little bit older, I was able to look at those external things and run them through the lens of creativity and realize that on an individual level, it's serving the person doing it and it's bringing them joy, which makes them a more soulful person, hopefully. I think that I might have thought about saying this at some point, but you know, I was a fundamental Christian for so long that I think that's why we didn't do Christmas for a long time, because Jim just felt like it was so commercial that it was like not very Christian. And so we threw the baby out with the bathwater. I went along with it because I'm that way. And so certain people in our culture don't even know what Christmas is about. Like, even if you're not a fundamental Christian, it's about the birth of a baby, right? And the baby is the sacrifice, is going to be sacrificed for humankind. So just with that myth or that thought form or that truth, however you want to look at it, that alone, I got a little baby in my house right now. She's an angel. She's 3 weeks old. She just came from the other side. And just that innocence and that purity is what saves us. That's our salvation.
Oh, I love that reinterpretation. I love that. That's gorgeous.
Well, and I think I got that from Thomas More too. There's a section where he says the mere fact that our salvation comes in the form of humanity and in the form of a baby completely validates our humanity. Totally. It's okay to be a human. It's okay to shit. Right? It's okay to, you know, sneeze. All the things you said earlier. Our humanity, Christ was a man. So if you believe in that story and in that truth and in that Bible text, then in essence, you know, it's about believing that humanity is okay. Yeah, the worm theology can go out the window. We're not, you know, we're saved by our own humanity and our innocence and our purity.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
I didn't make it up. I got from him.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. I wanted to back up a little and ask you, because you mentioned that you don't like being like the little Susie homemaker decorator person, which I've discovered about myself once I got out of my own way and, you know, let go of all the judgment about it, that I kind of do. Like, I love it. I love nesting. I love creating a space that feels like a sacred space to me. And I'm curious because I don't want to alienate people by saying, oh, this is what you have to do, because if your outer environment isn't this way, then your inner environment is a mess. And that's not really what I mean to say. But I'm curious, like, what is the equivalent for you? You know, like, what is, for me, I think because I'm a very visual person, and for so many years I made my environment stark on purpose because I thought that was like morally superior. I'm almost like a little bit, I feel like I'm like starved for like textures and glittery things. And, you know, like I have this blanket over here that's like this woolly, like, you know, fake Sherpa sheepskin stuff, or one that has like gold leaf, like glittery stuff on it. And, you know, there's wood, there's plants, these things are like really feeding my senses. So I'm curious, like, what's your equivalent for kind of getting that sensory food?
Well, I don't know. That's a really good question, but I do know that deep down, all I really want to do is write.
Yeah.
So whatever I'm doing that's taking me away from writing, I don't love it. I want to write.
Yeah.
So the extra hour it's going to take me to climb up to the attic and do that, I still can't write. And because I had 4 kids and our house is not huge, it's not small. There's always a lot of shit around,
Mhm.
always. And even now, there's little bikes and little tykey things and toys now and bottles and
Yeah.
books. And I cannot be impacted by my environment
Hmm.
because it's utter
It's not
chaos
an
and always
option.
has been. I
Yeah.
do love beauty though. And I got my chart read once. I went to this guy's house. His name was Sean. And he gave me his address and I got to go there to have my chart read. And it was like a therapy session kind of, but with your chart. And I literally could not stop. I just was like, oh my God, that chandelier is beautiful. Oh, that wallpaper's amazing. Oh, the coffee table. Oh, the carpet. Like I
Hmm.
could not stop myself. I could not shut up. And he
Yeah.
found that in my chart that I love being
Yeah.
surrounded by beauty.
Yeah.
But I can't create that beauty. I'll appreciate it in your house. But I did spend a lot of time because it was a lot of pressure when I was 23 and we bought a brand new house. It was stark. The one thing I do love is green. So I made sure I had green countertops, green carpeting, green tile. Everything was green. Our car was green. I love
Yeah.
being surrounded by green.
I've
So
read some research on that recently about the color green and what it does for our brains. It's like,
oh,
yeah, above all the other colors, it seems to like have this evolutionary kind of
yeah,
correlation, you know?
yeah. But I just had bad experiences being surrounded by people with money when we didn't have
Mhm.
much. I mean, we
Yeah.
did. We've always been, upper crust, but
Right.
we didn't have money for me to decorate. I would go to the dollar store and get, literally candelabras
Been
from
there.
the dollar store.
Totally been
But I
there.
wasn't good at it. So I just had a bad taste in my mouth because I'd go into someone else's house and hi, I'm like, how do you do that? How do you
Yeah.
create this? So it's not what I create. I create really good voices. I help you learn your voice, and I'm really good at writing poetry, and I'm just really not good at the house, and that's okay. Never have
Yeah,
been.
well, also what occurred to me too is like your house may not be like, buttoned up decorated, but your house is full of life. And so it's
Right.
not stark, right? Like there's
Not at
still a
all.
lot of food for you.
Not at all.
There's
Yeah.
there's love food, there's
Yeah.
connection, there's, you're seeing these signs of your family and your grandchildren. And I talk to my mom about it. I joke because now that I live with my parents now and my 9-year-old as well. And I joke like, oh yeah, it's a mess. These are signs of life, Mom. Imagine if we weren't here, like your house would just be in complete order all the time, like that,
Yeah.
and I joke with her because she likes it that way. But
Yeah.
but at the same time, would she really prefer that to us being here? That's kind of the question that I'm posing to
Mm-hmm.
her. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the answer is no. That's
No,
my
the answer is
assumption.
it is no. Like even though
Yeah.
our house is crazy right now with toys and screaming babies and dirty diapers and all of that. I mean, we wouldn't have it any other way. We would, especially during COVID, if we learned anything during COVID, right? It's what
Yeah.
matters. And we were
Totally.
prevented for 9 months from meeting our first grandchild, and that just did something to us. So it seems kind of like, oh my gosh, it's all or nothing. And we're having another family reunion in December, and I usually have a little breakdown when we have a family reunion because I can't handle, 10 people and trying to please everybody. I try so hard and
I
I
know.
can't
I
do
know
it.
you do. I know you
I
do.
can't do
It's
it.
so much alike.
But I like people that can pull something together and keep it that way. And I went to this lady's house once when I was probably about 26, and she took me around her house, and it was a humble house. It wasn't like one of the other Miramonte tracks above me with
Right.
marble countertops and
The marble tract homes. Yeah.
yeah, right, and cedar cupboards. It was one of the more Saugus-y kind of homes, but she took me around and she showed me everything she had, um and explained, I got this in Mexico and this, and I got this book
Oh,
here, and
that.
everything was on display. And I've never forgotten that. I mean, I'm, 30 years old, and I've never forgotten that she took me around to show me the meaningful mementos in her house that she'd
Mhm.
had with her for years.
That's
And
beautiful.
actually, my brother's a lot like that. And I think my mom is too, but my mom keeps everything, which kind of degrades everything.
Right. Defeats the
But
purpose, right?
yeah, but my brother's an artist, so he can carefully place things that are meaningful, and they kind of look like they were meant to be there. And even if it's just like I got him an antique typewriter once, and he found a stand to put it on, and it
Nice.
just is like central in his living room because he's also an author, and I could never pull that off, but an
Mhm.
artist can.
Right.
So and so I feel fine about my lack of you know, perfect house. I'm fine with it. I really like having Lau live with us though, because she loves to clean. I love to hold the baby. So
There you
I'll
go.
just hold
Perfect.
the baby and she'll just clean. My house has never been so clean.
Sounds
So
like a match made in heaven.
great. Yeah. So anyway, do you go on Pinterest?
You know, I do sometimes. I mean, I don't actually really take action from there. I mean, unless it's a craft, like a specific
Hmm.
craft, but I go on there because I just love the visual medium, actually. And I've learned that late about myself. That's why I enjoy Instagram too, because I enjoy, you know, like I follow a lot of artists, I follow a lot of crafts people. I enjoy not only learning how the things are made and seeing the steps that people
Hmm.
take, but also just, you know, when people are setting up these beautiful shots and, you know, I
It's
love
impressive.
it is, yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's not free. It costs them a lot to do
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Lots of
definitely,
time and
definitely.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people often I see like the creation of these like imagination, like I don't imaginary worlds, you know, like
Hmm.
these almost like imagination scapes is I think what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wanna shift a little and talk more about celebration. Um, so we're kind of talking about the like preparation for the celebration to
Yeah.
some extent, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Preparing your home, preparing the environment, the external. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And so that's like the part of the ritual that's like you're kind of laying the foundation, you're cooking the meal, you're putting out the decorations so that whoever comes can see what it is that you're honoring in your heart, right? Like you're putting that out in a visual way or in a cooking way, you know, a sense and smells and eventually taste kind of way. But the celebration part to me and the relationship it has to creativity is really important because like I said before, you know, food is kind of the glue that holds culture together. And these celebrations that we have together are they're sort of I see as like the yin and the yang. So the food is the, you know, the kind of the very the substantial part of it. We're all taking part of the food. It's almost like the sacrament, right? Like
Yeah.
you're you're taking part in eating together. You're eating of the same thing together, and you're taking into yourself the purpose behind the celebration. So let's say it's like a Yule party and we're celebrating, you know, the winter solstice and the change of the seasons from the dark to the light. I mean, this is such a beautiful, beautiful, so imagery, mythology, metaphor rich time of year.
Yeah.
Um, and to come together and celebrate that together by imbibing of food and drink and also imbibing of company and the
Mhm.
creative alchemy that happens together in unison, you know, as a group,
Yeah.
and honoring those whatever it is, whether it's the solstice or you know whether it is the birth of Christ or whatever it is you're celebrating. I
Hmm.
think is just that to me it's a creativity that goes beyond like product based art based creativity and it's like a collective creativity.
That's right. It's communal.
It's
So
yeah,
in
exactly.
my seminars, I use the metaphor of a pot, you know, mixing the food in the pot, that's transformative and blah, blah, blah,
Mhm,
blah. You get to the part where it's time to eat
mhm,
and you look at the pot and the pot is the metaphor for creativity and you see that it's round and you see that it's a circle and you see that when I bang the pot, the tribes come and we share the meal.
mhm,
So creativity's main mission is to bring us together and hold us together and connect all things. So when we do come together for a meal in that regard, to use the metaphor of the pot helps us remember that circle is communal. And our circle around the table, whether it's a round table or a square table, the food is bringing us together. And that is the mission of creativity. We are
mhm,
fulfilling the mission of creativity when we take that meal together with all the preparation that came before it, with the five senses, as you mentioned, smelling
mhm,
the cinnamon and the apple pie, or, you know, chopping vegetables and sipping wine, and just the five senses that come along with cooking, the visuals, all the thought that comes before it. You need your imagination. Right. So you need to have an expansive mind and you have to be open. You have to have margins, unless you stay up at night and you do all your Santa Claus things. But
mhm.
all holiday prepping is creativity at work because
Yeah.
even as a child, you make a list this long. That's divergent thinking. A
Mhm,
list this long. And then mom says, okay, Now you have to use your convergent thinking skills and pare it down and pick the things that are most important to you to ask Santa for. So we learn at a young age to use those kind of skills, and that's creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that's creativity, aside from reflecting when we write Christmas cards, right? And when we look back on all Christmases past and we go, oh, this ornament was when you were born, those reflective activities. There's problem solving. The
Yeah.
problem solving, I only have $500 and I have to buy 500 presents. What am I going to do? And
Mm-hmm.
serving others. There's people that, like my sister, they open up their house. They have like 20 people come over. They make cookies,
Mm-hmm.
and they do the squirting of the frosting, and they make them look, they go all out. They do Italian pepper cookies, they do regular Christmas cookies, they do cheesecake things. They're just crazy with cookies. They have a whole cooking weekend that they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's creativity right there. Just having to have a budget, stick to your budget, and then carry something through and have follow through. That's a process. So
Yeah.
it's rich with meaning. It's rich in connectivity because it's connecting the external to the internal. It's rich with the five senses. It's rich with problem solving, and it's just as powerful as creativity can be when we come together and we unite. As long as we don't talk about politics and religion at the table, we're good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, unless you're with, the group that, you're on the same page and you're celebrating whatever the sacred thing is that you're celebrating together. But yeah, other than that, what you're really celebrating is connection. To me, that's, whatever the politics are, whatever the different, perspectives are, you're celebrating life and love,
And those things, those entities, those powerful presences, life and love, we don't celebrate them often enough in our culture. So as long as we don't get caught up in the external, and we can remember and take a moment to not meditate on it, but just settle down into the whole purpose behind it. That's what creativity is too, just connecting us to our deeper selves and to our humanity and to each other. It can be really, really, really beautiful and powerful, but we do know that it's the expectation for togetherness at the holidays for people, that are the troops, and for people that are alone, suffering from depression. It can be the hardest time of year. It can be the worst because
it's a memory, a mirror of what you are lacking.
Yeah, because we're pumped up, and then there could be nothing for people. It's a little bit dangerous. So
yeah, that's very true.
I wish there was a solution for that.
Yeah, I mean, it just emphasizes how vitally we need communities,
It's true. You're right.
Just whatever they're comprised of, we need them desperately, and we're getting them less and less.
Yeah, that village that we always fantasize about. When is your trip?
Well, let's see. Actually, this weekend, funnily enough, I'm going to a mini village, which is like a very dear friend of mine and his wife and his baby. So I'm just going to kind of bask in baby land all weekends, and I'm really excited about that.
That's sweet.
And then speaking of the Kinweaver retreat, that's going to be in mid-January. Okay. So I was looking at flights today, like where am I going to fly in and all that stuff. So I'm really excited about that and to report back to you about how it is.
That's neat. And you know what? That's another thing. Let me just say, I always ask people, like, if we go out to lunch or dinner or whatever, which is rare during COVID, but what do you have to look forward to?
Mm-hmm.
So I think having something to look forward to is really important to keep positive and hopeful. And when we don't have anything to look forward to, it tends to bring us down and start that whole negative thing. So the negative downward spiral thing. So let's, which is exactly what I told you earlier, what I would go through during the holidays. And Jim too. Jim's had, he had more negative experiences than I did as a child, because sometimes, family members would get out of control, and we had that too. We just pretended we didn't. Pretended the elephant in the living room. So I think the holidays can be problematic in those ways, and so we have to struggle to be positive, and like I said, I have to run everything through that lens of creativity so that I see the good in the external and not just be grouchy all the time about it. That's not good for me. That's not good for my family.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens when you have a complex mind. You and I talk about that.
Sure.
Some people probably don't even want to hear any of this. It's just so simple to them. It's
Right.
fun. It brings me joy. I'm done.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I mean, I probably mentioned before, I'm envious of that to some extent, but I've come around. Like I've come from now I can understand the reasons for it, the purpose for it. Like I got to that intellectual understanding and then I
Yes.
realized it didn't matter anyway. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Exactly. It doesn't matter anyway. But
Yeah.
what I love ultimately, and I can end with this, is that when we do come together and we are fulfilling the mission of creativity, we are united. We are one. There is no separation between us, but we don't see that all the time. So when we have a Christmas table or a Thanksgiving table or an Easter table, and we have the opportunity to finally go, oh my gosh, there is no separation. We are one. We are united. Humanity is one indivisible whole. That to me is the magic of any gathering, of any festivity, of any celebration.
Totally. Totally. Nail on head.
Now I hear screaming in the other room. Can you hear it or no?
I can't. No, not at all.
It's gleeful. It's gleeful screaming.
Yeah. The
Toddler
best
town.
time. I'm jealous. I wish I could go hug a baby right now.
Oh my gosh. I just felt like I was holding a baby doll today. It was so
Oh,
fun. So fun. I'm so happy I can fall into it now without all the stress that's been going on
yeah.
during it. I'm coming out of, I'm turning at the corner a little bit. So
Good. Good.
yeah. Just in time for the family reunion and Christmas. Okay, well, enjoy your tree, your family. Tell your family I said hi.
All
And
right. I will.
we get to do this a few more times, and then we'll break for Christmas.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
We'll need that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Love
you.
you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.